Hey, welcome back to another Workbench video. I've been very busy this last couple of weeks since I did the last Workbench video. And, you know, I've been trying to get this channel to do more videos other than workbenches because I seem to be only doing workbench videos. But that's normal for me for the winter because I spend most of my time painting here. But I've decided, that I want this channel to go further than this. Not to get more subscribers or anything, but for me to do more with it, to have more fun with it. And one of those things was doing battle reports with my wife, since we seem to have a good laugh with that, with those. But when we were doing them, we realized we don't have a whole lot of terrain. So I made a commitment to myself that this year I would focus on terrain as much as figures. So this last couple of weeks, activity based on painting. Now, I can paint figures okay, and I can paint tanks and all that kind of stuff. I feel like I've got that down pretty well. I'm not perfect, but terrain, I've so little experience painting terrain that really, I handled some sandbags and some buildings. You can see they're really basic. I still have to put these warlord bases ruins down on a cardboard base or a wooden base, and then flock it and make it look a little bit more detailed. Maybe put a little bit of scattered terrain around the edge of it. But this is what I've done so far. I thought I'd just show it off. So first, what I've done is I've done these resin cast, I don't know, like they're modern cinder block type things. I painted a whole whack load of those, and those are going to work well with my Spectre Operations games, which I want to start doing since I have so much of that painted. I painted up some generic resin cast sandbags. I painted those today. It's just super easy. The vast majority of the time is just waiting on the glaze or the wash to dry. I painted these Warlord Games ruins, ruined farmhouse. So there's like the small house and the large one. Painted that, and then probably the oldest thing that I have in my house is this 15 millimeter, like, I don't know where this would be from, Belgium, somewhere like that, European walled farm. And it's got several buildings. And this is really basically painted, but it's solid cast rock. If I drop this on my foot, I'd break it. It's heavy. I got to do something like griming on it, but basically it's painted. And it'll be used for my 15 millimeter bolt action whenever I get around to filming that. So there's some barns. I'm not sure how you get into there. There's no doors. Anyway, a little shed. And there's a gate, a main gate, and the door pops out. It might actually go pretty well with the epic Napoleonic stuff, actually. Just a selection of walls, and then the actual house, the homestead. I think this is what this is. Yeah, so that's what I got painted terrain-wise, which for me, that's as much as I've done in a few years. Usually I just buy the terrain. We did make some small 6mm trees for our Blucher project, for the 1813 campaign that I got coming out this year. I'm currently painting some Prussians to go along with my Russians, and then I'm going to move on to Austrians, but we just did some trees. I did a whole bunch of those. I did a whole bunch of these. And yeah, I got some roads that I've had for 15-20 years. I'm not sure what material they are, but they smell god-awful. But they're outside drying right now. They should be done. I'm just going to dry brush those tonight, and I'll have some roads done. And yeah, then I'll get on to the miniatures that I painted. So I'm just going to pause the video, remove all this terrain from the table. I'm going to bring out the miniatures that I've done. Now, they're not 100% complete. I still have the bases to do, but I'll show you in a second. Just hang tight. Okay, and we're back. This is what I've been painting this week. Some Star Trek ships that I 3D printed to go along with my Star Wars ones. Now, they're not the same scale. Whereas the Star Wars ones are around 1/1200 scale. I'm not even sure what these are. These are 1/2000 scale. Like, really not 100% sure. Maybe 1/7,000. Can't remember. Anyway, this is what I've been doing. I've been doing another project for in space, another sci-fi property, and I've been doing the Dominion War between, if you know Star Trek, the Federation, Klingons, Romulans, Breen, Cardassians, and the Dominion. And I've been, when I was younger, my favorite TV show was Sharp, or Sharp's Rifles. Those types of, like, the straight to TV mini movies, the Sharp's practice games, kind of based off of. And I was always into the more historical stuff: Napoleonic, World War II, World War One, 7 Years War, all that kind of stuff. All my favorite movies are period movies, like Last of the Mohicans, those types of things. And my best friend in high school, he was a big Star Trek nerd, also a big Pirate Festival nerd. But one of his favorite TV shows was The Next Generation. And, I tried to get into it, but I wasn't really too fond of it. The only sci-fi show I really fell in love with in my early years was Babylon 5. And that's, to this day, remains my favorite TV show of all time. It's more like a story than, The Next Generation would be, where it has its little episodes, or some of them are not even interconnected. But he really loved Star Trek. And, he would watch Babylon 5 when he was at my house, and when I was staying over at his house, we would watch Star Trek. But I really got bored of Star Trek really quickly. There was a few really good episodes, but I wasn't really into it. Until Deep Space Nine started copying Babylon 5 with its big mass battles, and it just kind of, like, hit all those buttons for me. Big fleets, big battles, lots of destruction. And Deep Space Nine, seasons, I'd say 4, 5, 6, and 7 are my favorite seasons of any Star Trek, anything. Mainly because of the Dominion War. I just love the Dominion War. All of the episodes that had the Dominion in it, like the crashed ship where the Jem'Hadar were there. Those are my favorite TV episodes of any show. So after the success of 3D printing the Star Wars stuff, I decided, I'm going to take a crack at 3D printing some Star Trek stuff. I went to Hot Lead a couple of weeks ago with me and my wife. It got our whole family really sick. The first time we've been out of the house really in 2.5 years. We go away for 1.5 days, and we've been sick for 21 days. Like, my son was sick for a week, then I was sick for a week, and now my wife is sick. So, there's a price to pay. But we went there and I played a Star Trek game because really I wanted to see what the rules that they had were like. And it just happened to be that I wanted them to be for the Star Wars game, that I wanted to see if my rules were, should I just scrap the rule set that I'm working on, the It's a Trap rule set that me and my wife have made. And I want to see if these metaverse rules would be just easier than making my own. Spoiler alert, the rules weren't really for me, but I really loved the models. The game actually was pretty cool, so it inspired me to print off and create Star Trek ships, which I've never painted before. So in front of us here we have the Federation ships. Now they look a little too white on camera. I'm not too sure why they're so white, but they're in person they're more of a gray, a gray color. But I printed off most of the important ships that I really wanted, plus a few oddities. Now these are going to go on bases, kind of like these bases. They're going to go on those as well. Maybe a little bit bigger because some of the ships are a lot bigger. And I still have to print those off and do those. But I just wanted to show you what I printed for the Federation. Now, because they're going to go on those bases, I didn't bother painting the underneath side. I just painted the sides and the tops, just because that's all you would see, just to save on time. So if that triggers anyone, I apologize. But it just worked out for me. So what I printed off was, I'm just going to zoom in here too so I can show off the ships in a little bit more detail. Just hold on one sec. Okay, just move the all the ships kind of off to the side here so we can take a look at these ships one at a time. So we'll start off with the smallest one. And again, sorry about my hands. I've been priming and painting all day. So here we have the Defiant right here. Really, really tiny, but really cool ship. So that's the Defiant we have. Then we have the Nova, which is in a Voyager episode. Although it looks really white here, but that's the Nova. Then I guess if we go by size, we have a Miranda. I didn't do the bottoms right, obviously, but they're just going to be on the bases like this. So from the side and everything, who cares? Did a Miranda. I did the Centaur. Really cool little ship. It's in a Deep Space Nine episode where it's chasing the undercover crew of the Defiant. Then we have other small ships like, well, this would be a heavy cruiser in the original series, but it's in, I'm not sure what it is in the Deep Space Nine. It's Constellation, and I got 3 of them. So there's 3 of them. I won't bring them all out just to cloud up the table. Then I guess next smallest would be the Saber. Really cool little ship. Then we have the, what would be next smallest? I guess the Intrepid, like the Voyager. After that, we would probably go to the, the Norway. Cool little ship. Well, it's not really all that little, but, and these are all to scale to each other. So I did, like with the Star Wars stuff, I tried my best to make sure that each file I made to scale. And that was basically me going onto the web, getting these sizes in meters or in feet, and just tinkering with them to get them the right scale. So there's the Norway. Next, we'll move on to the New Orleans, which is also referred to as the mini Galaxy class with the highlighters on top. Now, painting all these little windows, these little white and black dots, was kind of a pain in the butt, but I find if you get a toothpick and just get some watered down paint, you just kind of dab the toothpick in the watered down paint and you go dab, 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 dab on the actual model. It works really easy. It's easier to me than a brush. And they're more or less circular. So there's the New Orleans. Then we did, what's this called? This is the Steam Runner. Another cool ship from the Deep Space Nine. Whoops. From the Deep Space Nine world, the warp nacelle, and the deflector dish back there. So there's the Steam Runner. Then we have some really weird ships. I'm not sure what this ship is called. It has a bit of a misprint there, but I painted it anyway just because, oh well, it's just a test. I'll print him again so the nacelle's not kind of like bending off to the side there, and it'll be fine. But there's not really sure what that ship's called, but I printed off 2 of those. There is this weird one here, the Freedom class. Looks pretty cool. Then there is, everyone would know these ones here. This is the Excelsior. And there's several of these in the Deep Space Nine episodes with the battles, and they seem to get destroyed a lot. So there's 4 of them. What else we have next? We have, we have one of my favorite ships, the Akira class. Really cool ship. Really like this. Then we have the Nebula. You can even see it, really, yeah. There's the Nebula class. So again, like the bottoms aren't painted because there's really no point. Plus there's all the supports. I didn't bother sanding it down because they're going to be like this on the base and moving around like that. So you're not really going to see all that stuff. It's going to be from basically here. So there is the Nebula class, and then we have the Galaxy is next. So we have the Galaxy class. There's a lot of dots on that one. Cool design. There's a Galaxy class, and then the last Federation ship that I have is the Sovereign. Now the Sovereign doesn't show up in the Deep Space Nine episodes, and I was kind of wondering if it was even viable to even have this in the Dominion War, but apparently it was built during the Dominion War. It's just the model, the actual model for the movie hadn't been made yet, or was just in production when were airing the episodes of Deep Space Nine. So by the year of the Dominion War, this ship is available. So I printed one and painted one, but in the TV show you don't see it because the model wasn't available yet. So they couldn't have it when they're producing the show. So yeah, that's a really nice ship. And that's what I have for the Federation. And I'm just going to zoom out here for a second and going to bring in the Klingons and the Romulans. Okay, so this is what I've painted for the Klingons and the Romulans. Now, I only have one Romulan ship because I think I only really need the one. The Dideredex, whatever it's called. I got 2 Negvars. So if I can show you those. Maybe I'll just zoom in here. Hold on, hold on to your butts. So I have 2 Negvars. Now, I painted all these ships in about 7 days, about a week of even the Federation. I painted everything in about a week because I was doing the terrain and printing them off the first week. And my standards, I've decided, if you watched my last video, is I have to lower my standards on painting. I can't be spending an entire day on a single model. Sure, I could make this model look a lot better. I could fix up the underneath. But the model is really going to be on its base right here, so you're never going to see underneath it. So it cuts the painting time in half, and I've decided to rely a lot on inking and dry brushing and washes to get the job done more than what I would normally do. I'd base coat it, I'd wash it, I'd block base coat it, I'd do first highlight, second highlight, third highlight, then decals, whatever. No, I'm just going to do, this is essentially a automotive gray primer, contrast paint, orc flesh over top, dry brushed with warpstone glow, and then with snot green, a really light green, and then this is like the nacelles are done with 2 or 3 different reds just to bring them up a little bit, and then I put the white dots on them, and then I did this little detailing in here with a bit of like a dark orange, and that's that. Just get the ship done. So these are really, really easy. So I did the 2, what are those things called? Negvars. Then I did 3 of these battle cruisers, whatever they're called. These Negvar, maybe? I did 3 of these battle cruisers. I did several of these Barrels, 15 of these ships. Now they're still on their supports because I didn't want to risk. See there? I didn't want to risk breaking them. But there's 15 of these, and I'll remove these off their supports later and touch them up whenever it's time to put them on their bases. But just to keep them safe, I kept them on there, and they were really easy to paint. There's 15 of them. Then there's 6 or 7 of these Katingas. Very iconic ship. You see a lot of them, and these are all to scale as well. So the Burrell and the Katinga, and the Negvar, and then the Romulan ship. Like this really blew me away that this one was going to be so big. This took a whole day to print. Like, zoom out here again. This took like 15 hours to print. It's a really nice model. Resin. But yeah, I didn't do the dots too straight there. But I mean, if you look at it from this side, it looks fine. And on the table, when it's on its stand, it'll look pretty intimidating. So that's all I really want. So that is just to show you the scale of the Galaxy class to that. It's I don't know if that's about right. It seems right to me, but yeah, there's the Galaxy class size. Now, if you were the Defiant, here's the Defiant scale to it. Not much of a comparison. So there is the other allies, the Klingons and the 1 Romulan ship that I have. And next I'll bring out the Dominion. Just hang on to your butt. Okay, and here is what I have to show you of the Dominion. There's far more Cardassians. There's a whole bunch. Like these are on little flight stands because it's just easier for me to carry down. I kind of carry them like this on the way down the stairs. So that's why they're on flight stands and nobody else is. But this consists of Breen, Cardassians, and Dominion ships. So far I have 3. I'm going to zoom in here a second to show you. These are those little scarab ships. These are the little Cardassian gunships, the Hideki, whatever it's called. And they're still on their little, 3D printed pegs for the most part. I just need to like get a little knife and shear them off carefully, and I'll put them on their bases. But the same thing for the Burrell. I didn't want to risk breaking them and moving them around, so that's why they look like that. So just give me a second. I'm going to zoom right in. Here we go. Let's move this out of the way. So let's start with the one Breen ship. I only have 3 of these Breen. Now I had no idea how to paint these silly things. I really had no clue. So I went with a bunch of greens and grays. Is that going to zoom in there properly? So again, these are all 3D printed by me, and they're all to scale. So there's the Breen cruisers. Here is the Dominion battle cruiser. Very basically painted, obviously, because I just want to get them done. And they're going to look fine on the table, when you're playing with them. I might give it a flat clear just to not make it quite so shiny. But yeah, it's hard to figure out how to paint Dominion ships because they're like metallically purple blue color. It's strange. There's those ones. Here's a Gaylor, Cardassian Gaylor class. Again, very quickly painted just to get it on the table. Then you got a Keldon, which is basically the same thing, just with that weird troop transporter thing on the top of it. Whatever that is. There's a whole bunch. I got like 15 or 20 of these upstairs. Then there's a little Hideki, the little gunship. Sorry about my fingers there. There's the brown primer from the roads I was doing today. So there's those ones. There's a whole bunch of them. And then there's obviously a whole bunch of these little scarab ships. Very hard to paint small details like that, but I went with pink on the nacelles just to make them show up on the table a little bit better. And then if I show you this is the Battleship, the Dominion Battleship. Let's just zoom right there. Okay, so here's the Dominion Battleship. I really did not know what to do with this. It was so big, but I was just so happy that I got printed off. And it printed off, correct the very first time. There's a lot more I could do. There's a lot more like highlighting I could do. But I decided, what, I just want to play the games, so let's just get them on the table. So, he's got pink engines all over the place. Sorry, very bad camera angles here, but if you look at him next to a Negvar, he's huge. Next to a Miranda class. And then I guess the Romulan bird of prey, they're very similar in size, but the Battleship is actually a bit bigger. The Romulan is actually really easy to print because he's mostly air inside, but this is one big chunk of resin. If you look next to Enterprise B, yeah, so printed off one of these because I just wanted to. It took 17 hours to print, but I put it on at 9 o'clock at night. I went to bed. I got up. I went to work. I came home. It was done. It barely took any time. So there's that. So that's what I've been printing. That and all of those. So I'm just going to sign off here in a second, but I just wanted to go over one thing. When I went to that convention, me and one of my teammates, a fellow named Ben, we were looking at the ships, and we're like, wow, these ships really look cool. And you know how you get kind of, I really want to do that. Those are really cool. I like what you did. I'm going to try that myself. And he told us, like, here's the website you go to on Shapeways, and you can buy these models. And me and Ben went on to the website right at the table. As we're waiting for our turn, we're surfing the net on our phones, looking at these ships. And this ship alone, to print off, was $85. The Dideridex there was $50. The Galaxies were $21, and all the little ships were like $7, $8. The little tiny barrels, you got 8 for $20, I think it was. So I was going to buy them because I didn't think I'd be able to print these off myself. But I decided I'd come home and I'd give it a shot. And lo and behold, I managed to do it. All of this was not even one liter bottle of resin. And that cost about $38. So I printed all this stuff off for $38. And I did the where I checked Shapeways to see how much that would have cost me to buy from an actual seller, and it was going to be about $800. So I got $800 worth of stuff for about $40, plus around, I don't know what it was, like 60 hours of painting or printing. And I mean, like, these Dominion battleships, you can get 3 of these on a plate, and then you can get all of these scarabs on a plate, you can get 3 Breen, you can get all of the basically, I could get all of the Klingons on a single plate, so it didn't take long. So that's why I 3D printed so much stuff. And, you know, I'm not really getting through my pile of unpainted stuff because I keep printing. But I only have a couple more projects that I want to do on the printer, then I want to give it a break for the summer. And speaking of a few more projects, I know I've been doing a lot of Star Wars and Star Trek and Mechanicum and all kinds of sci-fi stuff. And I'm just going to pause the video here and come back with a quick second. I'm going to show you what I'm up to next week. Now, these are done. They just need to be put on their bases and clipped off their little things there, put on their bases, and I'm finished. And I'm just going to show you my project next. And it's a historical project. Just hang on one sec. Okay, this is my next project. It's a historical one. It's 7 Years' War in 28mm for sharps practice. I've always wanted to do 7 Years' War, Austrians versus Prussians, and I'm going to do it. And I would like to do them in 10 or 6mm, and I might still do that eventually, but for now I found these models online. They were $45 for the armies, the 2 armies together, they're STL files. I printed them off just to see if I could get it to work. They worked first time, no problem. And I'm going to start painting. So these are going to be primed as soon as I leave here and stop recording. I'm going to walk upstairs and prime them, and then I'm going to let them sit overnight. And then tomorrow when I come home from work, I'm going to start on some Austrians Impressions. So these are, actually I should probably zoom in here because you won't see focus. These are Austrians, there's of course a cat here there, of course, why not? There's a guy loading his musket. There's a whole bunch of these guys I printed off that are firing. Now, you can tell me, but is this how they fired their gun, kind of off to the side? They didn't really aim down the barrel. I guess probably they didn't want to get burns on their face. There's a couple of flag bearers. Got some guys reloading. Here's the sergeant of the group. I'm still printing off stuff. I have the cavalry and artillery and some grenadiers and stuff. I'm going to have 2 of these 16-man units. Well, they're 2 bases of 8. I'm going to have 2 of these Germans. I'm going to have 1 Hungarian grenadier. And then I'm going to have 2 of these light troops. So here is the corporal, or whatever it is, of these Croatians. Sorry again about the hands. It's primer. There's a guy shooting. Or I'm not too sure why he's not looking down the barrel there, but maybe that's what actually happened. Probably not, I doubt. Another guy crouching and firing. We got some advancing and reloading. And these are STL files. They came pre-supported, so I didn't have to worry about any of that junk. And it just worked out. There's that. Yeah, so I don't no point really showing any more, but that's what I'm going to be working on next week. So the next Workbench update will be some more stuff in the historical realm. And yeah, I think I'm done painting spaceships for a while. I've painted several hundred spaceships. It seems like in the last few weeks. But expect more terrain and more historicals next week. Anyway, I appreciate you watching. This video went on a really long time, but I had a lot to show off. Thanks for watching. Sorry the length of time. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.